hear how bitterly disappointed I am with education in Scotland.
Oh, I know.
Let's have a big meeting. Let's decide lots of things, and let's do nothing about it.
I know, because I thought they'd be pushing a wee bit more to do something, but no. It does seem a bit like half-hearted, really, what they've been doing.
Yeah. I was hinted at that might be the case. They're very good at. They'll have lots of tweeting and saying, "Oh, we had so many people turn up to webinars and things like that," and it'll all just anyway. We'll find out.
Like fizzle into nothing. Yeah.
You know, it needs somebody to drive it, and
I know.
Just put it out on Strontium and everything like that. But
well, I thought they would have like put it all out on their official feeds.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, how's things up in Dingwall? Is everybody?
All right.
Are you stable with staffing?
Well, no, Brian's retired.
Oh my goodness, that's an end of an era.
Yeah, 36 years. So we went round to his house and just dropped off a retirement cake, and the head teacher had dropped off a few things as well. So he's going. And then Karen told us our jobs are going to faculty now. So who knows what's happening? It's all a wee bit up in the air.
So is that between you and Fiona?
Well, ideally, I think we'd like to apply for it on a job share basis. But we're waiting to find out what happens, to be honest. Like Karen she told us on Tuesday, and we kind of knew it was going to probably happen. But that was her official word on it. So she'd got in touch with staff and about a few questions that we'd had, and we're waiting to hear back now. But I don't suppose we'll hear anything now until August anyway.
Absolutely.
Because no one's going to be doing anything.
So when did Brian decide he was going?
Quite late on. I think this whole online learning pushed him over the edge, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. He was planning on staying probably a bit longer, but I think this has just finished him. He would have only have been there for another year at the most anyway. But yeah. Who have you lost, Martin?
Christine Finlay.
Okay.
Christine was up in Thurso.
Yeah.
And is retired. She stayed on longer than she was anticipating, actually. She stayed beyond what she was thinking she would do. And yeah, so we've got Isla O'Reilly, who trained with UHI a couple of years ago, was at Nairn, and we've kind of got Isla on a permanent, which is great.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because were the interviews for that this week?
Yeah, we interviewed on Monday.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good. At least you've got someone. That's quite good. I think we'll be another 2 years till we have everyone retiring in the department pretty much.
Wow.
It'll only be me and Fiona and the 2 physics boys left. Everyone else will have gone.
Right, good afternoon, everybody. Sarah and I are just catching up, science chat and gossip out there. I think there will be depleted numbers this afternoon, so we're just going to crack on, but you are going to be working. I'm just going to, we're recording at the moment, so if that's okay. And I'm just going to run through what we're going to be doing. Okay, so first thing is going to talk about what you did last week. I'm going to have a look at what you thought about on the survey in terms of different websites. I'm going to show you just very, very quickly how to get started on Google Sites, and then you're going to have 10 minutes to build your first website, unless some of you have already done that before. We'll find out in a moment. And then I'll just show you a little bit more details, and then we'll go on to some questions. So before we go any further, I'll just pause this and ask how you got on from last week. So any things either you want to show off, to share, or ask questions about? Rachel, it's good to see you again. Is your back better, by the way?
It is. Thank
Oh,
you,
that's
Martin.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, out of it for about a week, but I'm
Mm.
feeling better now. So
Okay.
yeah, sorry I missed last week, but I did watch it back.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, I'll just show you a couple of things that the Wednesday language teachers seem to really enjoy Excel, and I seem to really enjoy Google Sheets for some reason. So I'll just talk you through what a couple of people used it for. Katie in Gaelic wanted to do a tracking and monitoring thing here, where she's going to color code them as to whether they're working well or not ever. So she used some conditional formatting to do that. Oh, she's taken the kids' names out, but it pops up with those particular colors depending on what she graded them. So that was quite nice. And then in higher, she wanted to come up with an average score over here. So this all sort of took, there's various, all the marks are scaled in the Gaelic exam and the different components. And so she had some sort of horrendous formula up here, which was doing the scaling. And this thing here, which is just amazing. All sorts of nested if statements there to try and get the scaled grade. And then Emmeline from, I think, Thurso came up with this, which was a little bit neater, that she'd used a formula and just worked out percentages and things like that. So I think the key thing was with these that people were using it for what they really needed, that it fitted their particular situation, and then they were using the ideas of Google Sheets. Some of it they've been able to tidy up since, like rounding things down to percentages and things like that. It's a little bit easier. I've got something to share with you, if that's okay. Thanks. On the back of, there's been a few things over the last couple of weeks where either preparing for doing these sessions or when we've been bouncing ideas around during the session, I thought, oh, could do that. So the science teachers amongst you will quite like this. So you've got some photographs of measurements. And when you put the number in, for instance, this one, I hope I'm right with this, Sarah. I hope my meniscus is about correct. When you put in 58 there, it has a lookup table, and then it gives you a J if you put in 70. So it's a code breaker. And the code is actually hidden over here, way over in 2 hidden cells there. And it's actually what's called a VLOOKUP table in Google Sheets, where if there's something in there that's a 7, then it returns a G. If there's something in there that's a 9, it returns an I. And so each of these has a formula that says, look up that range and return the second of the 2 columns, and then otherwise just leave it as a space. So just another application of using Google Sheets, just because it's been so nice just trying all these things out. So that was kind of Google Sheets and data last week. Are there any other questions from last week before we move on? We could be finished early, which could be a good thing, though. Okay. So back to what we're going to do. And so it is about showcasing, and it's about the idea of using Google Sites or websites in general. So that was the results of the survey that you filled in there, that important aspects for a school website. Some people saying providing resources for pupils is essential. Providing information about the course content, a widespread there. Background information on staff, people didn't really see that as being particularly important. Displaying pupil work was moderately there. Listing policies and documents, fairly important. Resources for staff, probably not needed or very little importance. And then social media feed had most people thinking that was pretty good, pretty useful. There was a discussion yesterday as to whether this was really aimed more at a school website or a department website. So there's a kind of split audience for that there. And then just experience of using either social media or websites there. So given that there's actually not that many of us today, if we just go through sort of one by one, either have we used websites before, who we would see as being the target audience for either a departmental site or something else that you may want to create. Okay, so Rachel, do you want to kick off? I'll just go through. Oh, yeah. The problem is it's the order I'm seeing it. So go, Rachel.
Yeah.
You want to start, and then Hannah after you.
I've used WordPress quite a lot for doing. I've got a blog for my own artwork, and I've also used it in school for doing mostly posting artwork and competitions, announcements, links, anything like that. So I'm quite confident with that, but don't know any more than that, really. I've really just used it for artwork, and mostly I would say the audience would be the pupils, family, community. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's a great start there, Rachel. Thanks. And Hannah, followed by Angus.
So yeah, so far my only experience with I've not used sites at all or WordPress for the department, but I've been a tutor for the for the last few years. So the pastoral teacher was using Google Sites to do what's called an e-portfolio. So all the pupils were creating their own personal site, which was the aim of it was to use it for sort of almost like a online CV type thing. So it was to document all the stuff they'd achieved in all their different classes. So as a tutor, I kind of familiarized myself a little bit with how to create it. I kind of created one for myself to help work out what was happening for the kids. So I've not done one for the school department, but I understand a little bit of how Google Suites uses Google Sites, basically. Yeah.
Okie dokie. Fantastic. And then Angus, followed by Sarah.
I've only had experience building websites with a software called Weebly. I've never learned to do it properly with code, and I don't really have any experience of using the Google Suite version. I just built a website for a Skype group I had years ago. I think I might be the lone person who answered little importance for providing resources for people on a website. I think maybe we need to be careful about spreading resources around too many different places. I would quite like to just concentrate resources in Google Classroom, keep it there. But then I think maybe websites would be better served as a place for the community and parents to get information that they need. So yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of on that note, I was thinking the same. Like, I think it's important to share the resources, but a lot of the resources that I'm sharing are not my own, so I would be wary about sharing it on a site, basically. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Okay. And Sarah, after that, it will be Snezana.
Hello. I have no experience with using any sort of website, although I have an idea how to use them for some time as an additional source of information for students, like some department stuff there. And as I read quite a lot, and there's so many nice articles on the web, and you just forget about them later on. And I think it would be good for students to see what's new in technology, in science, in mathematics. So it would be really nice not to give just a link to a website, but actually an article that I find interesting for them. So that's mainly why I would like to have some sort of little department website.
Okay. Thank you, Snezana. And Sarah?
We used to have a departmental website that we used to put all the resources onto. This was before Google Classroom, we started using it. So we've now shelved our website completely because we feel like Google Classroom's for what we really use that for.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't even remember the website package I used, but I have built one before, but not on Google.
Okay. So, I mean, there's quite a wide variety then, and I think that's why I was asking these questions. You know, providing resources, as you say, Sarah. You know, a few years ago, that's where it was at. If you wanted to give electronic resources to kids, it had to be through a website. Whereas now with Google Classroom, I know a lot of schools are trying to see it as the repository for their documentation and the policies so that HMIE can see them online before they even knock on your door. And some people are using it for staff resources, but that I would agree isn't, I would consider a major use for that. We'll come back to using social media. And that's the experience that we've got. So here's the people who are using it regularly, like Rachel and Angus. So features that people have used, not much, to be honest. So that's why we're going to spend a bit of time on that today, which is good to see. So don't worry, nobody's an expert, that's for sure. And I think it's this idea that the website is just, it's basically your shop window. It's the external community's way of seeing, given that they can't even get into the building now, I think your website is even more important to show the work the kids have been doing, what your mission is, and how you're going to support your learners. And, you know, there's various other site building software like WordPress and, as you say, Angus, Weebly. I personally find this to be, and I hope you're going to find in the next quarter of an hour or so, it is the easiest way to do that. So I'm going to take you through very quickly just how to create a site, how to add the pages and some files, change the banner, preview it, and then finally publish it. And you should be able to do that in 10 minutes. So let's just go to a drive that you want to, so this could be a shared drive. If it's in a department website, it's a good idea to share it so other people can have editing access. And as with creating any new document, it's always good to go into the folder where you want it to sit and then create it from there. So you go through the More menu and then you get to Google Sites. Click on Google Sites. And, oh, I'm just realized, that's opening up a new tab there now. So it should see it just whirling around green and blue, that's fine. And first thing to do is to give your site a name. So we'll call it, let's go with the theme. So it's holiday photos, something like that. And that there, and it's already named it there. And that name is important because that's going to appear in the URL of your published site. So make sure that it's something that you're happy with there. We can change images here, so we can either upload an image or we could just select an image, and I'm just going to put a nice photograph from searching, and you'll guess where I'm off to for my holidays. Nice image there. Okay, bear in mind this isn't checking copyright, so you might need to be careful if you think it's a copyrighted image, but I'm just going to take this down once it's up there. And you can change your all the text. It's just like, a lot of it is just like doing what we did with slides, and you've got text boxes and layouts. So you've got, over here is your various options that you can put into there. So you can have a layout there which is some form of image or text and smaller text. So it's really nicely set up there. If you double click on anywhere, so if I just do double click, it gives me this wheel of 5 options, and that allows you to go straight to either images, to embed some code, which we'll come back to in a moment, choose something from your Google Drive, or upload an image from your local downloads folder. So let's just try putting in something from my drive. So you've got your whole drive, shared drives, any file that you've used. What I find useful is just to click this along to the recent, and then it'll give me the thing that I've been working with just recently. So if we say that we're going to pop that quiz that I was showing you before, and that can appear then as a Google Sheet straight into the website there. So maybe I'm trying to showcase what I've been doing there. Maybe we want to put in an image, and that again could be a Google image search, or it could be from your photos. So let's try one from my photos. And that's one of my favorites that one of the second years took. So we'll pop that in, and we'll just say it was actually just a class title. So that's how you add things to a particular page. In the pages here, you can add extra pages. So if I do a new page, then I've got to give it a title, and maybe I'm going to show a map of where I was. So that would then be the map, and it's taking the same photo across, and then we'll continue with that later in a moment. Right, so you make up your just a couple of pages with a couple of files and things like that. The nice thing about Google Sites is you can preview it. You can see what it looks like by clicking on that preview, and it will show you what your finished site will look like when it's published. And you can go through the navigation of it, and you can see what it looks like on a desktop machine here, and also on a tablet, iPad, or even on a phone, because Google Sites automatically lays everything out so that it will go on all those different devices. So we'll exit that preview and go back to the editing. And this is where you can duplicate the site if you want a copy of it. This is where you can do various other things, pretty technical. You don't really want those. That's where you could add other editors to your site, maybe other members of the department, or maybe somebody from senior management. You could make them an editor. But pretty much we're happy with that at the moment. So we're going to publish that, and then that will go to the internet with this URL here. So it's your sitesdoodle.com, highlandschools.net, and then whatever you've called it in the name of it. And that's anybody can view that at the Highland Council, and you can also manage that to be anybody on the internet that can see it as well there. Okay, so that you can get around that, who can actually view your site. So we'll just publish that, and that's it on the internet. So you can then, it'll be an option there, you can go and view your published site, and I'll just open that in a new tab there, and that's now, you can see the that's just it appearing now, for viewable for anybody on the in the council as a Google site. Okay then, right, time to hand over to you. What I'd like you to do is to go through that process. With it's 4:20 at the moment. It should take you no more than 10 minutes to go to a folder, create a Google site file, put a couple of pages into it, put a couple of files, just get a little feel for that in 10 minutes, and then we'll come back together at about 4:30. If you want to keep the audio on, but obviously just change the tab to go on to what you're doing, you can do that. You can also switch your camera off as well, so that I'm not spying on you, looking furious, thinking, how on earth do I do this? And if you get stuck, just ask me, and then you can either share your screen or I can talk you through it. But other than that, we're kind of going to go on to radio silence while you work for 10 minutes, unless you've got a question. Does that make sense? So I'll give you a shout in about 10 minutes at 4:30. That's everybody had about 5 minutes. Again, if you're stuck or if you're not sure about something, just ask me. I'm getting bored over here. So, but other than that, I'll shut up. Let you to it. Okay, you've had about 10 minutes. So if you fancy coming back in over to the Meet tab, and we'll see how you've got on. Snezana, you don't have to publish it, but it shows you how it'd be quite easy to do that if you did want. Oh, I've got. Let's see what Brian's given an invitation to edit. Wow, that's nice. Okay then. So firstly, any questions or any observations, or what do we like, not like about that? Well, Rachel's shared, sorry, is that Rachel?
Yeah, it's so easy and quick.
It is. That's why I thought it was worth that 10 minutes, because if you'd gone away from today and thought, oh, I'll get around to that, whereas it's just to think, no, it's not that difficult. So got a couple of websites there that people want to. If Rachel, do you want to just show us what you've managed to do there? So you present now and then share a Chrome tab.
Oh, entire screen. Is that showing now?
Just about to. Yeah, it's just coming up there nicely. Yeah.
And this is a preview of it. I don't know how I get back to my
At
project.
the bottom there, you've actually got it hidden, because you see just to the right of where your cursor is, there's that little black. Get rid of that.
Get rid of that.
Yeah, get rid of that, and then
yeah.
Then the blue cross.
Okay. Yeah. So just set up I at first I thought these were going to be the pages, the links.
You could link them to pages.
could.
I'll tell you how you can do that. So you could have that then going to.
But then the menu up there is just nice and clean. I just like how clean and simple it is, because quite often you go on school websites or any websites and they're just overwhelming with so many menus and so much stuff. So the idea of having a separate departmental site, I think, is quite a good one, so that you're not lost in the.
Well, the advantage of having a departmental site which links from the main site is you've got control over it. All your members of department can just push stuff straight up there without having to ask somebody else to do it or get passwords. So that's certainly one way around it. So no, it's looking lovely. And is your garden just full of flowers like this, or
No.
is it an aspiration?
Well, these are not my photos. I haven't, because I'm on my school computer. I haven't got any photos handy, but yeah, it's not bad.
Brilliant. Okay. Angus, do you want to put yours up there? So.
Sure. No, I was just messing around. I'll just share my screen here. So I just made a kind of a starter, fun introductory page, and then just had a look at what else I could do. Just had to go with putting in videos in the site. Stuck that in there, and then just had to go at sticking in text and images and things. But yeah, that's where I got in 10 minutes.
Brilliant. Anybody else want to show us what they got up to?
Yeah, I mean, I tried a few different things.
Right, okay. What you got, Hannah?
Yeah, I'll show you. So, I mean, all I did was just, so I think, am I showing it in the preview screen? I think I'm showing it, yeah, as it would be shown. So I just did like a home page, and then I created some maths activities, and I just attached some stuff that I had in my Google Drive. And then I've created a Nat 5 maths page with the course outline. So, I mean, yeah, I would do it probably differently if, you know, I had a bit more time, but I mean, I just attached what I had in my Google Drive. So, I mean, I think we have a maths website, but since we've got a very new maths department in the school, so I don't think any of us have used it, and I think it's just become kind of a bit redundant. So I think it's a good opportunity to, you know, recreate a maths website for current Golspie staff, basically, and for the to use. So it's nice that everyone can add to it, basically.
Yeah, and it's got a different audience these days. You know, with Google Classroom, you don't need to put the past papers up there. You don't need to put the or if if it's to do with the SQA's arrangements, send a link to the SQA's arrangements. There's no point in retyping it. It keeps it current. So no, really nice. Anybody else want to pop anything up?
Well, can I?
Yep, please do. Please do.
I just let me preview and I'll do the tab only.
Hannah, I think you'll need to stop sharing yours to let Snezana in. That's it. Perfect. Thank you.
I think it. Just a second. It should be this. What do you see?
Yep, it's coming up there. Oh yes, there we go.
Okay. So I never done anything like this before. So this is like title page, blah blah blah. I tried to share a link to a little documentary. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's an article here about elements, blah blah blah, and this is some news from CERN. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But again, for what you've done from scratch in 10 minutes, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. But I wonder, how did you get these little things here, like pod sites or something?
Well, I'll show you that in a moment.
Okay, thank you.
The subpages and the menus and things like that.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Okay, Sarah, do you want to show us what you got to? You're muted, Sarah.
Oh, I didn't get very far, but I'll show you. I just added a couple of pages. I was trying to put my own photos over rather than using, and that took a wee bit longer.
Yeah, while Sarah's getting hers queued up, you've got to make sure anything you're going to put on your website has to be available on the internet. So you've got to change the sharing settings to make it completely transparent. Yeah.
What is the kind of copyright rules? Like if I share a website, that's fine, right? Is it? Yeah. So there's no, and if
the link, yeah.
Yeah, so a link is fine to have on my website. Yeah. Okay.
So really, I just got as far as putting a home tab and a BGE tab in, and then I was looking at trying to transfer some of my own photos over, but it was taking a bit longer than the 10 minutes that we were given.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, I think what you want to do is have as with anything like this, you need to have a really clear idea of what it's going to look like in the end. I wouldn't suggest you start doing your department website like this, where you just start messing around with things. You need to put all the images that you want to use in a folder, all the documents and things, copies of them into a folder, and then make that folder open access across the internet so that you don't end up, otherwise you'll end up with a big square in the middle of your website saying you don't have permission to see this because the sharing settings aren't right. In terms of copyright, I'm just going to show you a very useful way to make sure that you're not getting on the wrong side of copyright, because it's really important when you're putting stuff on the internet. So when you're doing a Google image search, I'll show you in a moment, Hannah, how we're, or is that for sharing the images, sorry, the folders, or for the website?
So stuff that I've created, how do I make it so that everyone can see it?
Okay, right. I'll do that in just a second. I'll just show you just here. If we went on an image search and I was wanting to find out, got a one-track mind today, I can tell you that much. So say if I wanted to find out, to make sure that some of these were available without getting stung for copyright, because a few years ago Milburn did get stung for 300 quid from a company that makes its money by putting this art out there and then charges for it. So you want something which is labeled for reuse. I don't know, Rachel, you probably know more about this than I do. Do you want to chip in with this?
I didn't know about that option at all, actually. So I'm furiously writing it down because that looks really useful.
It's really useful because generally what you want is something which is labeled for reuse. And there's various other subcategories of that, but generally your safest is just labeled for reuse. Unless you're going to change it, then it's reuse with modification. Generally, we can have non-commercial, obviously, because we're and then you'll do that, and you'll get a much more limited bunch. But there's usually still something there that you can use. And another from Wikimedia.
Just to jump in, sorry, Martin. There's another good way. If you go into Wikipedia, pretty much all the images shared on Wikipedia are freely available for distribution. And when you right-click to copy the image from Wikipedia, it will say you may want to or you need to attribute the author, and then it actually pops up a box where you can copy exactly the way you're supposed to attribute it into wherever.
I'll just do that just to show everybody. So you get this option to download it, and it gives you the attribution and things like that, and it said, or just use that. Oh, hang on, there is another one. That's there is, yeah, but you're right. It tells you who you've got to. No, there is a way. It tells you. That's it. Oh.
We're still on your Achmelvich pictures, Martin.
Oh, there we go. That's it there.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Down at the bottom there, it gives you all the details, and you can download it and things like that. Okay, Angus, anything else you want to add while I'm?
No, that was it.
No, that's because that's really good. Yeah. So yeah, like you say, anything on Wikipedia is great. Okay then. And yeah, going back to that website that I put together there. So so making sure that you've got your things so that they can be shared. If you've got a folder, it can't do it in your team in a shared drive. What you can do though is, if I go to my own personal drive, you can actually, so if I go into my drive, and then I've got a folder in there which is school website stuff, and that folder there, science website, if you right click on it or look at the sharing, when you share it, that's where you get the options for who can access things within that whole folder. So this says anybody on the internet can find and view, and you can change that. So it could be just people from Highland Council, or you can change it to people in your own department, but you can't do that at the moment. I think apparently Google are going to make it available that you can share a folder within a shared drive across the internet, which will make life a lot easier. But that at the moment says that anything I put in that folder is viewable by anybody on the internet, and that's the way I get around that. When I'm putting anything else out there, always make sure that I'm taking a copy of it. If it's a pupil's work, anonymize it, take their second names off, and make it a copy of it so that they don't accidentally amend something that's going up there. Just looking for public settings is where you change it so that it goes beyond. Hang on, no, there is another setting somewhere. Oh, that seems to have changed where it. There is a way to make it viewable across the whole internet, but I'm not seeing. I'll need to go back to that. Maybe put that on later. Okay then, right. Just going back to sort of other things that I'm just going to take you through just now. So that I've just really talked about that, the sharing settings for the files that you're going to use. We're going to look at page layouts, the image carousel, how to add sub-pages, like you're asking, how you can get a menu to other pages, linking across the other pages into external websites, inserting various other things. I see some of you already got YouTube videos in there, which was nice. And then lastly, embedding a Twitter feed as well. So for this, I'm going to use a couple of example sites rather than using just the one that I made up. So this is, it's not actually the Milburn Academy site at the moment. It's the one that we're hoping to put out there soon. and so you've got lots of different menus, and then within them you've even got some sub menus. So I'll show you how you can do that in a moment there. We've got this image carousel, which is just a sort of rotating set of images. We've got the school calendar there. We've got the daily notices as Google Slides from March, because it hasn't been used since then. As I say, it's not live at the moment. And then we've got how to get to us in terms of the map, just the Google map with some routes, safe routes to schools and things like that. Okay, so that's the finished site. This is what it would look like in terms of when you're still editing it. So if we go to the pages, and in the home page there, you can see there's 3 sub pages. They can be moved around by just pulling them down so they come out to the side, or pushing them back into the, so that's where they will there now appear. So that's why they appear there, because they're sub pages within there. You can have each of the pages that are main pages are what appears on the menu at the top there. Some of them you might just want to link to other things, and in which case you can just add a new link rather than an actual web page. So if I put in a new link, then it will say that we want to link to a different page, and we can pop that in just there. So we'll do a little bit more links in a second there. If you're using a Google Calendar, it seems like a great idea, but the problem is it only gives your personal calendar, whoever creates the site, it puts your calendar on. You then got to share all sorts of other things on the Google Calendar. So it's great if you've got a whole school calendar, you can just add it into there. And you get to that just by going into Insert and then Calendar. So you just drag that across, and that's where the calendar comes from. Oops, just click on it, sorry. Click on it, and then select the calendar that you want to put on there. So it's got to be one that you've got as a shared calendar. YouTube clips are dead easy to put across. As you saw there, placeholders are a bit like when we did with Google Slides. And the rest are all just really Google Documents or Google Maps that you put across there. So it's pretty self-explanatory, everything else there. The themes are just like in a Google Slides, just different. You can import themes as well. You can get different themes from external websites with plugins and things like that there. So let's just head to the homepage here. Any questions before? Because there's only 5 of you, so if there's anything else you want to ask, please stop me. Okay, so I've got in here links. If you've got something that you want to link to, you just double click, and then you've got the link button here, and you can insert a link, and that could be either to one of the pages within the site, or it could be to an external website. You would just put in the URL for the website just there. Last thing I was going to talk about, oh, sorry, just to say that the image, going round and round in circles here, sorry. The image carousel is just, you insert, and that's the image carousel just there. The other thing you can do for pictures, that's what the image carousel looks like. You've got to then put in the images and just drop them in, a bit like you would do on a Facebook or Twitter feed. So you just drop those in or upload the images, and it just automatically just sends them around 2 or 3 seconds. You can tell it how long you want to go for. Using Google Slides is another nice way you can have the Google Slides, so you can tell it to, so that you can tell it how often you want it to change, that it starts on a particular slide and it keeps going. So that's really handy with that bit there. Right, last thing is just to have, we've got a school Twitter feed, and I'm sure certainly a lot of primary school teachers have Twitter feeds, and so we've got that. And I'm going to you need to make your Twitter feed available, and so you've got to go in there. But then what you need to do is to go to a different website called publish.twitter. I spent ages trying to mess around with the actual Twitter settings to be able to embed it on the school website. But you put in your Twitter handle, whatever it is there, and then it gives you various options. And then you've got these, there's various ways, and you get a code, and then you put that code into your website. So, let's try that again. So on our homepage, we've got the school Twitter feed just down here. And so to get that in, this is where you go into that embed code, and you paste in the code that was given there in the, sorry, that's not the code, but you get the code from that code website. That's where that goes in, and that's how you can put your Twitter feed. So it comes in, and it's great because it makes your website really fresh, that it looks like, people are, as soon as somebody puts something on their Twitter, then it appears on your website, so it just keeps your website updated. That's all I was going to go through. So I don't know if there's any questions from that, or
I think there's a few questions on the chat.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Right, okay.
And I think Hannah asked about Facebook. I was wondering about Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah, you can. It's just because each of the platforms is slightly different. We don't have a Facebook page, so I haven't. But you could put the Facebook. So whatever's happening on your Facebook suddenly appears just in that little box on your school website or your department website.
What was it that you used, sorry, to embed the Twitter?
You would go to, I kind of rushed through that because it's, what I'll maybe do is I'll just share my screen. That would be quickest actually, because, right, so you should be seeing the whole screen there now. So you've got various things there. So sometimes you've got to go into your Twitter account to make it that you can share it, but then you've got to go to this other website, publish.twitter.com. If you just Google embedding a Twitter feed into Google Sites, it'll take you through it. But that's what it looks like. So you just put in your Twitter, the Twitter name that you've got, and then it'll give you that code there. So you copy that code, and that's what goes into the embed part of the, where it says embed, and then that's what you paste in.
And there'll probably be something similar for Facebook then as well. Do you think?
There will
if I just searched embed Facebook?
Absolutely. But it's just that, because I think, Angus, you mentioned HTML coding and things like that. That's the only time you'll see HTML coding when you're doing a Google site. It's just to put it in just like that there. Okie dokie. Anything else?
I think it's just one of those things you got to spend time exploring, isn't it?
And I think it's like, a bit like Google Sheets, that there's no one way to do it. It's what suits your own department. Otherwise, you'd just be given a template by the council and say, this is what your department website's going to look like. And it's whatever it means, whatever's going to be useful for you. I think that's the main thing, either to showcase kids' work, which we're really keen on. Because just in the same way that when you visit a school building, you go along the corridor and you've got all the displays and wall displays, it's quite nice to be able to show that off so that kids can actually even email their granny in Australia and say, look, my work's on the school website. It's a really big motivator. So, it just takes that little bit more time, but once you've got it up and going, Yeah.
I was just going to say, you have to be quite careful when you're putting kids' work out, though, that you have to have parental permission before you post anything, because I've heard of schools that have got into trouble. Is
that more on the art side, or just maybe essays that mention family members and things like that?
I think it was on anything. Well, it was on our art teachers Facebook group, a big chat about it, and a school in Central Belt had put work up, or something had been shared, and they didn't have permission, and they got into trouble for that. But the discussion seemed to be saying it was any work that people had created, like creative writing, or it's their intellectual property. It's all about that.
Oh gosh, that's a kind.
So I don't know where that stops. I don't know all the legal ins and outs of it.
That's a really good point.
Experiment is someone's or not.
Right, I think that's probably one for Robert Quigley. I'll ask Robert where we stand.
I'm just super careful, and I always check before I put anything up at all.
Well, that's a very good point. So just like with the image copyright, you've got to be, That's very good. Okay then. Well, thanks so much for coming along this afternoon. It's a big ask. And thanks so much for being involved with the first group with level 3. It is going to be a different format next session. If we do this sort of training, it'll just be, there'll be videos of what we've done with Taos and I, and we're just going to have a sort of greatest hits compilation videos, and then people will have the same thing to try and do, but it won't be live like this. So, but don't worry, just along those lines of copyright, it'll be me talking rather than you on. Okay, so we'll only use the bits where I'm doing it. Okay.
Can I just ask how we unpublish the website that we did today? Or
you can, there's an option there when you in publish, you can go down to unpublish on the blue.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can just unpublish it and then it'll come off there.
Great.
Okay. So I hope that's been handy, and I've put out a survey, a sort of evaluation questionnaire. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, because it's the first time we've run this, it's quite different to any other Google training we've done. It's been at a much higher level, and we've tried to keep the format a little bit different, quite interactive. So we'll be interested to see how you find it from all that point of view. And other than that, can I just say, just have a brilliant summer.